Thank you, Rodrigo. Um, yeah, those announcements are important. A lot of things coming up. I think hackathon also they have opened up for application. So I think that is one other thing we just look forward to. Okay.
They,
So
they have a bigger deadline. That's why I didn't mention now. I will mention the next edition.
okay, yeah, they usually go for like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, great. Um, So thanks for inviting me to this Brazil Sitecore user group. Um, I'm very glad that I'm here and I'm going to talk about building a static website using Sitecore Experience Edge for Content Hub and Next.js. Um, so if you haven't met me before, my name is Himadri Chakrabarti. Um, I am a senior director in Nishtech, which is a Sitecore partner based in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I am a community enthusiast, Sitecore community enthusiast, and an MVP, technology MVP. You can reach to me Twitter and other social media. My handle is Himadri C. So let's jump on the topic that we are going to discuss today. So I just in last presentation I had done, it took a little over than 45 minutes, but I'll try to keep it within 45 minutes. Let's see how that goes. So first we will take a look at the website that we built. Just a quick look, and then we'll talk about the architecture, like starting from how I started and basically how I utilized Content Hub and Experience Edge to build this static website. And we'll in the on the way we'll do some demo, and we'll talk about how we can actually think the CMS as a service, so that we can not depend on just one CMS. We can change the CMS, so that also will look at from the architecture point of view. So to start with, as you know that Content Hub, Experience Edge, these are headless headless content management system. That means that you can actually reach to this system using API, and there are different ways to get to the system using API. So if it is a headless system, then you really do not need to start from a content management system. So in my case, what I have done is actually I started with something called JSON Server, because at the end, from the headless system, what you are going to get is basically some JSON response. So I thought that okay, so I can build those JSON response, and use something to build my program, my architecture, and then I will go to the actual CMS, whatever CMS I use. So if you are not aware of JSON Server, it's actually a NPM package. It's really good for starting some sort of prototyping. So being said that, I will do a quick demo of the website, so I'll talk about the architecture in a bit, but basically you see that this line of code is saying that JSON Server API helper is the one that causing making it to connect to the JSON server to get the data, and I'm running JSON Server on the port 4000, and if I go to my JSON Server, and basically if I go any of the route, I will get data back. In this case, I'm getting the menu items because I'm actually using the endpoint for menu. So, and when I do that, you can see that it's really showing the route here. Okay, so the JSON server is running on port 4000, and now I am using a service to connect to it, and I will start my application to basically run the website from JSON server. While I'm doing that, you will see that it's just going through the API calls and to different endpoints. And so I'm running that, and basically this is the Next.js application that is running, and all this data and images and everything, these are coming from the JSON server. So when I started with this project, I'm kind of photography enthusiast, and I figured I can build something related to photography, and anything in photography actually interests me. So this is just a simple site which is kind of it's a blog site, kind of take you different pages in the in different section, and then you can go to the detail page, which will show you the detail. That's very simple site, and it is a static site. So static site means the HTML is rendered. Although when I'm showing this demo at this time, it is not rendering the HTML, is building it. If I actually build this site and deploy it, it will actually it will render the static site, and it will cache the site in the CDN, if I use Vercel or something. So let's go to for example, if I go and I can show you. Actually, I have it open here. So this is that application I have deployed in Vercel, and if I go here, this is the static site. This is nothing but HTML. So I deployed it in the Vercel, and this is the same site running as a static site from Vercel, and it takes advantage of everything that we know as far as caching data, caching pages, and incremental server rendering, and all sorts of things like that. We'll see the code in a little bit to understand those. Okay, so that's the way I started, and started with JSON Server and build the application. So now if I think about connecting this to Content Hub, so this is going to be the architecture. What I'm going to do is basically I will use API, and I will create the content and everything in the Content Hub, and then I will use the API to get all this data from the Content Hub, and I can take advantage of everything in the Content Hub, adding assets or content and collections and whatnot. And then other thing is I have to deploy the code in GitHub, and when I deploy the code in GitHub, next Vercel deployment, my GitHub GitHub repository is connected to Vercel, and it is going to get the code from there and build the code and build the HTML and push that to the Vercel edge. Vercel edge is CDN. Basically, these are all static file, right? So it actually pushes file in the edge, and when someone goes to the site, it looks at what region that user is coming from, and basically serve the pages from that region. For that reason, first of all, it is actually not processing anything. So it's just plain HTML. So it is fast anyway. On the top of that, Vercel is caching and also rendering the or delivering the pages from the region that close to where I am or where the user is. So it's extremely fast and basically very efficient. Okay, so that is the architecture for Content Hub. If we use Content Hub, so how we can integrate with Content Hub? There are different ways. So we can use REST API. Direct REST API endpoints are available. You can use that. There is a web client SDK, which is for .NET developers. We can use that too. There is JavaScript SDK. Anyone comfortable with JavaScript can use that, which also works with TypeScript. But Content Hub alone itself does not have any GraphQL endpoint. What it doesn't have also is there is no preview API. So you change something in Sitecore world. You change something in the CM, okay, and you can take a look at that and see how it looks like, and based on that you decide whether you are going to publish or not. So in case of Content Hub, there is nothing as such for the application to connect and show the items that are not published yet. So that's a problem. But that's where Experience Edge comes into picture. So Experience Edge is what provides you GraphQL API, gives you option to actually use preview API from Content Hub and look at things before publishing. So it's probably not recommended without Experience Edge. But you can still use it to actually build a website. You can use Content Hub as a content as service. But if you add Experience Edge, if you add Experience Edge, that means that you need license, and then Experience Edge is kind of like Vercel. It actually pushes things to Edge for those GraphQL for the delivery. So there will be some additional cost, but it really completes the architecture. So let's just quickly look at the structure in the Content Hub. So I basically what I have done is I have created some content collection, and it's probably going to warm up a bit. So I have multiple collections in my Content Hub, and basically, if you remember those menus I was actually showing, photography, photographer, these menus, these are kind of defined collections. And if I go to camera, so it shows me all the blog articles that I added in that collection. So when I go and get the data for the say photography, it really what happens is it hits that collection, photography collection, and get all the blogs from there. And then each of those blogs has their own content and properties and things like that. So let's look at one one of them. This is actually the title and the body, and then the image link. Sorry. So the image link and the things that I am using in the site. So what is the read time, and also it gets the publish on data from this blog. So, and you can see that here in the if I go to camera and if I look at it, it was published on 7th June. I have not added any read time. I'm showing from the JSON server, so you will not be able to see that. So that is the structure, and then a couple of other collections which are let's see. So the topic cards and the main menu and all those things coming from here. So that's kind of the structure, and let's do something here. I'll go to the code, and in this code I will change my service to Content Hub API helper. So if I do that, it will compile that, and I think if I go to the site now, I'll go to home. So now it is not using JSON server anymore. It is directly going to the to Content Hub site, and the reason it is taking time because it's actually compiling. Yeah. Okay. Now you see that it is rendered, and this is coming from Content Hub now. So it is going to the Content Hub and running the API, and using that to get the generate the website out of that. So if you go to camera now, you'll see the last time when we looked at it, you see that there was no this picture is wrong. There was no read time. Now it is actually coming from Content Hub, and basically there is a read time. So just to tell you, it is coming from Content Hub. So how that happened, we'll actually discuss in a bit. Okay, but since we are on the Content Hub, let's just look at a bit about the Graphql. So I'll just do a quick demo on the Graphql and show you how we are going to get the data using the Graphql. So GraphQL is Experience Edge here. It is actually the delivery system. You can think of like CD. So whatever data I added in Content Hub and then I published, it went to Experience Edge, and it is just like a delivery system. And if you go to I have let's look at this. Okay, so this is if you look at GraphQL API structure or schema in the Experience Edge, it starts with all aim and then content blog. If it is content about, it actually will start with all aim and content about. By the way, the content about is actually a custom content that I created. So it's pretty pretty intuitive. And if you run this, so what it does is actually you can mention what you want, and basically it will get the data from the delivery system. At this point, this is not actually getting the data from the Content Hub at all. So this data is actually there in the experience edge, and it is cached, and all this data is coming from there. If you want to get you can use all GraphQL query and things here. That's all are available. So if you want to get only one item, then you will see that it will not start with all M. It will start with M content blog, and I'm passing the ID here, and in the query variable I'm passing the ID. So it will get that blog only. So this is that blog. So this is actually the delivery system, but it also Experience Edge also provides you the preview API. So similarly, if I go to this, and this is not in the you look at this address, this is actually going to the Experience Edge sandbox. Okay, so when I run GraphQL from here, it goes to the Content Hub and get the data from there. So naturally, if I have not published something and I'm using a preview API key, so if I use preview API key, it knows that I'm looking for data which is both published and not published. So if I do that, then it will get that data. If any of the field here was not published, if this blog post was not published or updated, then it will actually show us the preview of that data. And basically this is very useful because you can actually use that to see how a kind of CM functionality, you can use that to see how your data will look like, and if there is any sort of page design or something, you can also be able to see that. Okay, so what did I do in the code? I just changed this Content Hub API helper, and this is actually a helper I wrote, and it uses JavaScript SDK to to use the API to get data. So I have all this code actually shared in GitHub. You can take a look. But this is kind of what I was talking about is actually CMS as service. I can actually change my service in my code and switch to different CMS. So let's talk about that. What CMS is CMS as service. So in traditional CMS, if you think about XP or XM, we build the website, and core of the website is actually the CMS. Okay, so it is not separate. Your CMS is not separate from your web application. So it looks like the one on the left, right? And all the other things that you do can be service. But in the DXP world, in the composable DXP world, why we cannot see a CMS as service? Definitely we can see that, and we can think that way, and we can do that for the headless CMS. Okay, if it is a service cloud native API first, then we can use the headless CMS as service, and your web application is basically using all other services and as well as the headless CMS. So that gives you the opportunity to actually change your service. So if you want to use Content Hub, now you use Content Hub, but you want to move to Experience Edge, you can do that. So you can even go to other content management system. So if I have Contentful, and I can build a service around that, and then I can change my code and deploy the code in Vercel, and then Vercel pushes the HTML to the edge. Now instead of using a Content Hub, I'm using Contentful. Let's see if that works. So I have Contentful client. So I changed that, and it is now compiling. And I'll go to the site, and I will go to home page. So when I go there, I'm hoping it's still compiling, and it's going to come up quickly. Okay, back. Now my site is served from Contentful. Okay, so the same site, I have a structure in Contentful that I built, and I can use Contentful to build this site now. So if I go here, and basically I can quickly show you, and let's go here, I can go to photography, and all the content are coming from here. So if I look at all the content, like the blogs, these are the blogs that I added. So you can see the content here. So these all are coming from Contentful now. Okay. So how that is possible? Let's talk about the architecture a bit, and I will show you the magic, where this magic is happening. I just changed this API helper. So all I'm saying is that I want to use the API helper of my choice, and what I'm doing here, the next line you see in I am actually using a container to register iAPI helper to the API helper that I am declaring here. So I have an interface for API helper, and when I change this, I say well, I now want to use Contentful instead of Content Hub. So it registers that, and then it calls the services, and when it calls the services, it actually resolves to the service that it is supposed to go, and all this happening using the inversion of control, so dependency injection. So what I have to do is basically I have to come up with a iAPI helper, and then I have bunch of implementation of that helper. I have JSON Server, Content Hub, Contentful, and then I needed a dependency injection framework which will create this implementation and inject that in my page component service and page layout service. And when I go to this code, I say I want to use the page component service, okay, and I want to register this API helper, and I want to use this. So give me the appropriate implementation that is I want at this time. So basically if I change that code, it takes either Content Hub or Contentful and push it to the page component service, and basically that's the one in use now. So now comes and this is possible just quickly. So as I said, I'm using the dependency injection, and there is actually a framework called T-Syringe. It's actually built by Microsoft. So this is the one that I'm using, and the thing that I had to do is actually Initially, the project this was built using JavaScript, but it was difficult to use any dependency injection in JavaScript. So I had to actually completely migrate the code to TypeScript, and which is kind of difficult because a lot of the services and things that are like in TypeScript that is used still on the experimental phase, and some of those are not like supported by Next.js, and basically you had to also use Babel and things like that for transplaying them. So that's the dependency injection framework used. Now, so since I have this architecture, I can easily add experience age on the top of it. So now experience age is just another CMS as service. Okay, and the benefit of experience age is that it has the CDN age where the GraphQL data is pushed. Okay, so it's much more efficient than Content Hub. Contentful also has GraphQL, but we are talking about experience age here, right? So experience age attached to Content Hub will actually provide you GraphQL data, and basically it's all coming from the CDN. And when we build that and deploy in Vercel, it compiles it, generates the page, and then basically pushes this to Edge, and now you can see the site from Vercel Edge. So what I had to do, I had to just add another API helper implementation for iHelper. Okay, once I do that, basically nothing needs to change. So I can select that API helper, and now it is coming from Experience Age, not from the Content Hub directly. And I can go here, and I can say Xage. I will select this one. And now if you look at Xage implementation, basically it is using all GraphQL. I am trying to get the blog. So from the collection, and I am using the GraphQL, and those GraphQL queries are all here. Okay, and I am using this Apollo client to execute the query against the Experience Age delivery system. Okay, so now I change that code. So I expect that this will come from the Experience Age. So now I cannot really show you difference in the data, but basically now we are going to we are hitting the GraphQL endpoints, and also you have to these are static pages, right? So these are already built by the application, and this is all built from Vercel. I can so that's what we are doing here. But let's take this to the next level. Let's do a Vercel demo. Okay, so how we can actually deploy it in the Vercel. So basically, if you look at my Vercel configuration, this is connected to my master branch in GitHub. So this is the code, and you can see that this is where it is actually configured. I gave the permission to Vercel to go there, and anytime I deploy code, Vercel will actually compile it and basically push the code to the edge. So one way to do this is like when we basically when we change something in the Content Hub and publish it, we do not want to actually data change, so the site will change, right? So new code, new HTML generation has to happen. So like every time we change something in the data, we really do not want to push that data to Vercel. Because then it will run too many builds. So how you can actually do this? You can have an action here in Content Hub. So I have created an action, and this action starts a Vercel build, and what it does is actually it's an API action, and I put a API endpoint, and this API endpoint is nothing but a webhook from Vercel. So if I go to Vercel and look at my settings and go to Git, and you'll see that there is a webhook. I copied this webhook and I put it in Content Hub. Now, if I use this action, I can trigger a build from Content Hub, and I can do that when I choose to do that. If I change something, and the way action works in Content Hub is that it triggers if you change something in the system. So I do not want to do that. What I want to do that I will change everything, and I'll decide when I'm ready to push this code or start the build. So basically, I created a action external action here, which I'll just quickly show, but you can go to my blog and take a look at that too. So I do not have too much time to actually explain that, but let's just take a quick look. You can go to the page, okay, content, and then content collection. So you can add a custom operation, and this custom operation is basically a little bit of code here. Basically, what it does is it actually makes the call to that API endpoint, which calls the action. So I can go there and click on this, and if it ran properly, I should see that a build started here. So you can see that a build was queued, and since I changed the code to use Experience Edge, since I changed the code, where am I looking at? Okay, I changed the code to use API helper Experience Edge. So now it is using that code. I'm sorry, there was a step I actually haven't done here. I'm just explaining. I have to, the change I made, I have to actually deliver that code to GitHub. So if I do that, Vercel will also start a build. So let's see. So it's still building, and once this build is done, I can go and take a look, but let's look at this code and see what my API helper is. So static graph. So API helper is already XH API Apollo client helper. So this is the one that Vercel is using now to generate the site. So deployment is done, and now if I go to this site, so it's going to come up, and basically based on that architecture that I showed you, this architecture, now it is coming from Experience Edge, and basically the HTML are here in Vercel Edge now. Okay, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Let me see, do I have time, Rodrigo? Rodrigo, can't hear you. Right. I'll just continue, and there are a few things I can talk about. Is that so how can you actually work with Experience Edge? So this slide that I'm showing here is kind of explain the architecture. This I took from Sitecore documentation itself, but they do not have this URL there, which I put there. This URL can be different for you. So there are basically three systems. One that authorize or authenticate the user. Then there are delivery platform, which is the GraphQL delivery APIs I was showing. So this is where the data coming from, and then Content Hub, which is actually the content management system. And you see that the preview API is connected to the Content Hub, and basically we publish data from the Content Hub to the delivery system, and then you get data from the delivery system. So there are a few things that you can do when using this architecture. There is really no user interface or anything for managing keys and administering XH. So you have to use the API, and the API that you will be using is for administering the XH. You will be using the admin API, and this is the endpoint. And if you want to generate a key, which you will need to get data from the delivery platform, when you are using this GraphQL endpoint, you will need a key, and you can generate key or modify key, things like that using the key API key endpoint. And admin is for if you want to remove the cache, or if you want to change settings time to leave and things like that, that you have to do using the admin API endpoint. Also, anything that you want to do, you have to authenticate that to the Auth0 system. So you just get the token from there, and you can use that. So Rodrigo, are you back?
Yes, I am. Thank you, and sorry.
No problem. Do we have time?
Yes, I think so. And there's one question for you. But continue, please.
Okay. So I will just quickly show a demo. I'm not going to go too much detail about it, but I was talking about how you can administer the XH system, right? And so you have to, one option is to use, like, it's all API, right? So one option is use Postman. And as you know, Postman you can use to execute any sort of REST API. So I have actually created a Postman collection and shared with the community. So you can take a look at that. So let me see where it is. XH. Yeah, this is slow. Sitecore experience age. Okay, I think.
Hello.
Okay, so I'll just show one how you get the token, and basically you have to use experience edge environment, and you can see that this is the place where I'm going to get the token. And if I send, if everything works fine, so I can actually get a token from experiences system, my experiences system, and then I can actually look at my keys. So let's see, I can say, give me all the keys here. These are the keys I have in the system. So now I can create key. I can rename the key or the hash, but actual key you will not be able to see. Okay, so that is one way to do that. And also I have created a CLI. So I'm not going to talk about that. We do not have time, but you can take a look at my blog and find that CLI. That's the Postman demo. I have this blog out there. You can take a look and let me know if you have any questions. All right, you said one question.
Yes. Where is the Experience Edge located? Is this a SaaS-based hosted application? Is there any license cost involved to use it?
Yeah, good question. There is definitely a license required. So if you look at the documentation, there is a mention that you need the license. Although, for partners, if we ask for a sandbox for Experience Edge, they will provide one which they will charge and include the license. About where it located, yeah, it's really cloud, right? It's not like any server exists or something like on premises. So it's completely SaaS based, and basically running in cloud. Sitecore is running it, and if you want one, they will give you the subscription. You have to buy the subscription, and then they take care of everything, like CDN and all those things that I was talking about, pushing all the data in those systems. So completely SaaS based.